Alright, what's up guys? Today I'm going to be tuning my BMW to full E85 since I installed everything that needs to be done for it. Let me show you guys what we did. So here in the back seat area here we have the fuel pump, and the main thing that I installed is this ethanol sensor that's already all plumbed in with some nice AN fittings. But although the tune does not need this ethanol sensor, the tune does not even know what content the ethanol is, but the tune is written in a way where it needs pure E85. Well, not pure 85, but the lowest you can go is 70% ethanol, and the highest is E85. You can actually go higher than E85 if you want to with this tune. But the reason why I installed this sensor is so I can monitor the ethanol content rating in the fuel tank, so that if it gets lower than 70%, I would need to, I guess, sort of not drive the car as hard, because it's going to cause a lot of knocking and some other issues. Although ethanol at the pump can vary from 60% to 85%, here in California it's usually around, the lowest I've seen, or at least I've seen on forums, is 75%. So that's not too bad, but it's still a good idea to have one installed so you can monitor it with a gauge. Like this one that I installed here. This is the P3 gauge, and I'm going to be wiring it so that I can see the ethanol content rating from there. I have those blue and yellow wires already wired up to it. I'm just waiting for that signal converter to come in, since it hasn't come in yet. This was a pretty nice install. It's all covered underneath the carpet, so you don't see any wires running anywhere, and it just goes up straight to the dash. You don't even see wires there. So it's a pretty nice hidden install. In terms of wiring this ethanol sensor, it's just 3 wires. You need 12-volt power, a chassis ground, and this is the signal wire that's going to run to the back where the converter is going to be installed, along with those 2 wires. So let's go to the back of the trunk and see what's going on. So this is where all the wires are coming in for the 12-volt power and the ground. Right now I have my oscilloscope out because I don't have my converter, and this is a great way to test to see if your wiring is working and if the sensor is actually giving you your correct readings. So I'm going to show that also in the video to see if you're getting the square wave signal from the ethanol sensor. And it's kind of tricky. I had to do a lot of research to get this to work without a converter, but I'll talk about how you can wire it up so that you can use a oscilloscope to get your frequency readings. So here I made a video on how you can find 12-volt power with ignition using these fuse taps. That one that's not connected is for the converter, and this one's already connected to the ethanol sensor. Those 2 wires that I ran all the way up to the gauge are here to connect. So we're going to turn on the ignition so that I can show what the signal looks like for this for the sensor. Alright, so the ignition is currently on, so we should be getting a reading from the sensor. Alright, so with the ignition on and this oscilloscope working, we can see that there's already a square wave on it. So right now, remember that the ethanol sensor here outputs a square wave with 2 pieces of information. The frequency gives you the ethanol content in percent, and the pulse width of it gives you the fuel temperature. But the way that I wired this up so you can get this reading without a converter is you use this white signal wire, and you need a 2000 ohm resistor wired to it, and wired to the resistor you need another 12-volt source, which I'm just using as from the battery. And when you wire it like this, you should be able to get a nice clean square wave here that you can get the frequency reading from. So right now the frequency is at 59 Hertz. The signal or the frequency range for the sensor is 50 to 150 Hertz. So with it being at 59, that gives you a 9% ethanol reading. And that makes sense because I have 91 octane in here, and the max ethanol rating in normal pump gas is up to 10%. So it makes sense that it's reading 9% in our normal 91 octane gasoline. So now that this is working, I can go and get ethanol from my local Propel gas station that sells E85, and I actually confirmed that that pump has a rating of at least 82% ethanol. So I'm going to be going there with a 5-gallon jug, and I'm going to be filling it up with ethanol so that as soon as I tune my car, I can fill it up with ethanol and get it started. I also just want to give a quick overview on how I put this ethanol sensor in here. This was a little tricky because the Continental sensor here uses 3/16 or 3/8 steel fuel lines, or with the quick connect fuel lines, but the BMW one uses 5/16. That there's like a plastic one that comes up from the fuel pump, as well as this one. So I need to order this piece here that converts from 3/8 to 5/16 male, so that it can go into this OEM female quick connect line. And the same thing with these two here. So this one needs to be 3/8 to 5/16 here. So I'm really hoping this can all fit underneath this cover. I'll make it fit somehow. But I double, triple checked that there are no leaks coming from these lines, because that's the last thing you need. So with that, I'm gonna tune my car, and we're gonna see what the readings are from the sensor and see how it runs. Alrighty, so I just got done tuning the car with E85 and taking it on a few test drives. Let me just show you what the current ethanol readings are. So right now the frequency is at 119, so that's almost E70. So we're basically at 70% ethanol right now, which is totally fine. This tune that's made by Kerry Jordan allows for your ethanol to be as low as E70 and all the way up to E85. So I was driving it around and it's driving really, really nice. I have to say, this thing is making a lot of power, and I floored it a few times, like on some back roads, and I saw the boost reaching up to like 23 psi, which is insane. And the ignition timing, I've been keeping a track on it with my gauge, and it's never below like 10 degrees. So that's really awesome. With the previous stage 2 tune that I had with 91 octane, that thing was going down to like -5 degrees, which is not good. That means that the engine is knocking and it's pulling timing. But with the few pulls I did right now, it was pretty much staying at a really good ignition timing with 23 psi of boost also. So that's pretty insane. I didn't do really data logging yet. I'm going to do that later, and I'll also post that too and compare it with the previous data log that I did, where I found out that the stage 2 tune was not doing so good. So overall, I think this was a really good setup, and it turned out really nice. So I don't know, did it change? Oh yeah, 120, so we're at E70. So I'm just gonna wait for that module to come in and install that so I can not have to deal with this and just look at the gauge. Let me just show you the interior just to see how nice and clean everything is. Oh look, it's as though nothing is installed. No wires there. I think it looks really nice. So I'll do some data logging and see if all this was worth it.